Good morning, everybody, once again. On behalf of Westland and JLF, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you at what is indeed a historic moment in the world of Indian publishing. The unveiling of this year's most awaited fiction title called the Sialkot Saga. I shall reserve the suspense for a bit longer. I know you all know it, but then there is another suspense that we all have to wait for. But I shall begin this morning by welcoming one of India's best-selling and the Sialkot Saga's author, Ashwin Sanghi, on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Ashwin Sanghi. Most of you know Ashwin Sanghi's work, but for all those who are here this morning, and thank you so much once again, Ashwin Sanghi's exciting and successful foray into the world of publishing began way back in 2007 with Rosable Line, and thereafter he went to deliver a gem with Chanakya's Charmed, Krishna Ki, and took his readers completely by surprise by going off the beaten track with a non-fiction title in 2014, which was called 13 Steps to Bloody Good Luck. And this morning, we are privileged to unveil Ashwin Sanghi's next book titled The Sialkot Saga. Thank you so much, Ashwin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, an actor who has exploded every myth in the rule book and essayed some of the most unforgettable parts in Hindi cinema. I present to you Jaipur this morning, Kajol, who's best known among several others, yes, for the cult film DDLJ and the recent hit Dilwale. You really don't need me. I take it that you really don't need me to know Kajol, but suffice to say that here is an actor. Here is an actor who shares a special bond with the world of books, and more power to her and books. We are so privileged to have Tanuja ji in our midst. Padharo Mare Des. It's such a privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, Tanuja. And I know what we are all thinking. Some of us are thinking, Raat Akeli hai, and I'm thinking, Meri jaan, mujhe jaan na kaho, meri jaan. That's who she is. Fantastic. I'm such a fan, Tanuja ji. Thank you so much. So let's begin the session, should we? So Kajol and Ashwin, can we begin the session this morning? Yeah? So let me go there. I'm going to field some questions, and I know that I'm going to make a complete fool of them myself because it's Ashwin and Kajol. So let's roll. Yeah? Let's go. So Kajol, let's begin at the beginning. We all know how fond are you of books, reading. It was said that when you started your career, you'll always be reading on the sets. This is what we heard, we read.
I still do it.
Yeah. So was it something you took up on your own, or was it inculcated by, others in the family like Tanuja ji?
Definitely
that you have
my
to
mother,
read.
no two ways about it. I don't remember a time when my mother didn't have a book in the loo or on the table or a whole stack of books everywhere. तो जहाँ पे भी देखो मुझे सिर्फ किताबें दिखती थी. मेरी माँ की बहुत बड़ी 400 किताब से बड़ी लाइब्रेरी थी उसके रूम में, उसके बिल्कुल सर के ऊपर जहाँ पे सोती थी, सर के ऊपर 400 किताबें थी. तो रात को whether she was reading or not, she was sleeping, the books were always with her. And that's something that I have as well. I have a huge library in my room, in actually 3 rooms in my house.
Oh my God.
I have a library in 3 rooms in my house. That was actually, I have to tell you something really funny. I have to tell you something really wonderful actually about my husband. My husband, he asked, he was like, we should get married. And I was like, yeah, I'll get married to you only if you give me the library from Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, so you remember that library, right? You guys remember, right? So that huge, big library was my dream. And he was like, yeah, I promise you, baby. After we get married, that's going to be my honeymoon present to you.
How nice is that?
So I'm going to present you with the library. So we got married on that. That was my relationship with books.
Such a lovely story that, and these family stories. Ashwin, you have one, and you've always spoken about how your grandfather, that whole train, bogie, books coming from Kanpur. Would you like to tell the readers and the audience?
Okay. So what I was saying was that this story actually, Sudha, has been heard by a lot of people. In fact, many people say that we are fed up of listening to your Nanaji story. Okay? But anyway, here goes. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, he lived in Kanpur and he was very, very fond of reading. So he had a system of sending me a book every week to read.
Wow. Okay.
And he would send it from Kanpur to Bombay. During his lifetime, I received more than 415 books.
Wow.
Fantastic.
So what did your grandfather think? What kind of books did your grandfather think you should read?
You see, the thing
it was not Tinkle Comics, obviously.
No. He was actually way ahead of his times in the sense that one of the books that I read when I was, I think, probably 13 or 14 was Autobiography of a Yogi. And besides that, he sent me classics, but there was a naughty side to the man, so he also sent me Lady Chatterley's Lover. So,
and how old were you when you read that?
I'm not going to share that in public. But having said that, I think what happened was he was a person who truly valued learning. So he used to say, he said, "Beta, tum to banya ho, tum वैसे भी धंधा करोगे." तो remember one thing कि लक्ष्मी तो वैसे भी तुम्हारे लाइफ में है, अब तुम सरस्वती के पीछे भागो. अच्छा, and as you know in that lineup, we always see Lakshmi and Saraswati and we see a Ganesh ji in between. So that probably explains my physique. Because I've been aiming towards Lakshmi and Saraswati.
Kajol, how were you introduced to Ashwin's writing, and which is your absolute favorite of the books that he's done?
Ashwin's writing was actually introduced to me by my mother. She gave me the Rosabelle line and she told me, you have to read this book because it's so amazing. And it's this guy called Sean, whatever. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah. And then, of course, I read Chanakya's Chant after that. And I was like, I can't believe that, why didn't he give his name for the first book?
Huh.
I mean, why didn't he put his name down for the first book? Because I loved Rosabelle line and I absolutely adored Chanakya's Chant. So actually, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. That why did you change your name? Why didn't you give your name as Ashwin Sanghi for your Rosabelle line?
What happened actually, Kajol, was that, I hold the Guinness Book of World Record for rejections. So, and I even counted 47. The way I used to keep myself going is that there used to be a chart in front of me which said J.K. Rowling 12, Stephen King 30, and Chicken Soup for the Soul 33, which were basically the number of rejections. So when I landed up with 47, I said I beat the pants off all of them.
So you might as well change your name.
Exactly. So, and then I had to self-publish. So when I self-published, there was that entire fear in my mind that, listen, I'm lousy as a writer, and I still have that fear. That, oh my God, I'm not really a writer.
You're lousy as a writer. Please keep writing and keep trying and keep making that effort because I absolutely love your books.
So as a result of which I said, maybe it's better that I don't use my name so that if anyone is going to throw rocks at me saying that this guy is a lousy writer, then they'll be throwing it at someone called Sean Higgins rather than Ashwin Sanghi.
Kajol, you've read the Sialkot Saga. Of course, we should not reveal it because you'll all get to read it, very, very soon.
I'm going through it right now. I'm going through it right now.
But then, if there is a teaser, if you want to tell the people, what is it that is so engaging about the Sialkot Saga? What would that be?
I think the one thing that Ashwin is so good at is being able to compare the times and able to tell you quite honestly by way of example that वक्त जो भी हो इंसान वही रहता है और वही करता है और वही कर्म होते हैं और वही सीख होती है. So I think that is one of Ashwin's very strong points, really. I love the book for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ashwin, if you had to, she said keep writing, please don't dump that for anything else. But in case you have to make a film,
yes.
Which book would you select for you to cast Kajol? I don't know if Kajol will do the film, but considering that you both like each other's work so much, what would you think would be a perfect fit? If
I want to play Chanakya. Oh, what nonsense is that? I mean, you don't get a choice in that matter.
But the problem is, Kajol, you don't have a choti. You need to have a choti for Chanakya.
Have you heard of FX?
Okay, thank you very much. This is the first session. Do not go away. There's lots to come. Kajol, I want that, you know his work so well. we have to figure if he knows your work that well. And I'm sure all of you are going to enjoy it. Kajol is going
Oh my
to
God.
ask Ashwin some questions. And after that, there's
Give me a
going to
list.
be some trophy and stuff like that. But then the questions, you want to read it or should I?
Why don't you ask them? I'm
Okay.
stupid asking.
This is Kajol. I know I'm not Kajol, but I'm her voice. We're doing a Shamitab here. So these are questions to you, Ashwin. Your time starts now.
It's not fair, Sudha. Don't do this.
No,
Yeah.
listen, it's...
Okay.
Look,
Okay, fine.
we got to know each other's
Fine.
work, right? And
Fine.
this is an actor who has
Yeah.
a body of work.
Yeah.
Okay,
Every answer
Please
is going to
don't
be
answer.
DDLJ, my favorite movie of all time.
mine too, but please do not prompt this man because he needs to know Kajol's work. Okay, here goes. I was a villain in a movie and ended up getting the
That's
Filmfare
an
Award for Best
easy one.
Performance
Easy one, I know
in a
which one.
negative
There
role
was
for
only
it.
one.
Which one was it?
Gupt.
Go. Yes.
Yeah.
Applause. He's okay. Kajol is here, but
See
we can
there.
applaud for
How
this.
many questions are there, by the way?
We just asked 3 questions to you.
Okay.
Okay. You like DDLJ so much, right? So this is a DDLJ question. For how many weeks did DDLJ continue showing in Maratha Mandir?
Oh, Hazar
Approximate.
hafte, Hazar hafte.
Thoda zyada hai. Do any guy, you know, it's
Okay.
more than Hazar. Take your
Even
guesses,
I don't know how
Ralph.
many exact weeks this is.
1009. I know it's very close. Okay.
I should get that. By the way.
Yeah,
I
you
should
get that, you get
Take
that.
care, it's okay. Okay, this is the last one. In which film does she have a double role? No?
Yeah. There was a sound
one?
there.
Which-
there was
which-
a
which?
sound there. Dushman.
Dushman! Yes. Thank you so much. And now,
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
And I think now, Ashwin, you have to ask the questions to Kajol about your books, and you
But
can do it.
Kajol has already answered the Sean Higgins
Yeah.
question. That what was the...
See, I've
you
given
don't
you
want
so
to
many
give me
lovely
that.
compliments, you don't
Give
need
me
to
that,
ask
that's
me
my
any more
question.
questions
Huh?
Give me
after
that. So
that.
you're not going to ask Kajol any questions?
No.
She already knows my work so well and she's already praised me. Now the job's done.
Okay. Now that they both have a mutual admiration society and they will not answer, I just want to tell all of you that, you know, Ashwin has this fantastic talent, I'm sure a lot of writers have, that he brings history, politics, and of course fiction is the kernel of his novels, so beautifully in his books, and Sialkot Saga is an example of that. I'm now inviting Ashwin Sanghi to speak a little about his book and also take this session forward. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, here, Ashwin Sanghi for all of you.
You want me to come there or can I speak from here?
Jaise bhi karo.
Well, this is, honestly speaking, first of all, I must tell you, I'm very excited that Kajol is here. I mean, you know, this is a moment. And as they say, for a writer of history, this is a moment in history. I'm even more excited that Tanuja ji is here. Because it's just such a wonderful pleasure to have both mother and daughter, who are both so fond of reading, to be here on this special occasion. So thank you,
Thank you
Kajol,
so much.
and thank you, Tanuja ji. As far as the Sialkot Saga goes, it is a labor of love. It's, you know, everyone's been talking about the fact that when are you going to come out with that book? Because I announced the title even before I wrote the book, which was almost about 2.5 years ago. And since then, people have been pestering me, saying, when is this book going to come out? And the problem is that I realized that this was I had sort of thrown myself off the deep end, as it were. Till now, most of my books have been basically in the space where they traversed a little bit of mythology, a little bit of history, and then a very strong contemporary story. Sialkot is a little bit like that in the sense that there is some amount of ancient history in it. There is a touch of mythology in it, but the bulk of the story is the 70 years since independence. So the story kicks off from 1947 and traverses through the entire decades after independence through the lives of 2 businessmen. So for those of you who loved Chanakya's chant and found that that was a story which had lots of intrigue and lots of mystery in it, well, the Sialkot Saga is that multiplied by 2, but not in the world of politics, but in the world of business. And that is something which comes almost like second nature to me, having grown up in a business family. So it wasn't very difficult in that sense to write that story. But I had a blast while writing it. And I hope that you'll have a blast while reading it. I have always believed that a great book is one where you don't have to really turn the pages turn themselves. And I can't remember who was the great man who said that easy reading is damn hard writing. And it's so true, because you really need to labor over every sentence and every phrase and every word in order to make sure that by the time you reach the bottom of the page, there's enough incentive for you to actually turn the page. So I've tried to do that, but only time will tell as to whether my efforts have been successful or not. So thank you so much.
There's good times, and I'm sure it'll do very well. When Kajol and Tanuja ji walked in, I have to say this to all of you here. Kajol said, I'm so happy to see such huge crowds at a lit fest. And Tanuja ji said, when someone said, isn't it incredible? So Tanuja ji said, that is how it should be. You know, people need to read more. They need to discuss books more.
Yes.
And that is how it gets to you. Kajol, that's what, you know, I want to ask you that his writing, which has history and politics, do you find that easy reading, or, you know, books?
The way he does it, yes.
Yes. And do you think that the plots and the subplots and everything that come, I mean, does it give you that expanse, that canvas that, you know, that you're totally immersed in it?
Definitely, no two ways about it. As he said, easy reading is, I'm sure, the most difficult kind of writing, because you know, I've read a lot. I've read a lot of books by supposed great authors, and I found most of them bloody boring. They were really, really difficult to get through. Most of the people who say that they've won, like, you know, great prizes and stuff like that, you know, I touch those books very, very carefully. I pick them up like, I'm like, okay, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? Only for one reason, is that I truly believe that a book should, as he said, you know, those pages should turn themselves. You shouldn't think too much about it and just get totally immersed by it. It's a movie unfolding in front of you. And it's your own imagination that should take flight. That's why I pick up a book. I do not pick up a book. I do not read because I want to make myself a better person, or a much smarter person, or a more intelligent person, or anything like that. I read just for the sheer pleasure of picking up a book and going somewhere else.
Talking of which, Ashwin, I'm sure this makes every author and all of us who are fond of reading and books nervous, where there is discussion that people are reading less and less. But when I listened to Margaret Atwood the other day,
Yes.
she says they are reading, but on different platforms.
Yes,
What do you
they
believe, Ashwin, that are we reading less now, or are we reading differently?
I think, first of all, by the sheer crowd here, and at Jaipur Literature Festival in general,
Yeah.
one can realize that whether people are actually reading or not, the interest in books
Right.
is very much alive and kicking.
And I would just like to say one thing, Ashwin.
Yes.
I really would like a translation of your books in Hindi.
They are all there, by the way.
Yeah, I really
They are
think
all
that,
there.
I honestly think, and I honestly believe that a lot of books that we read should be translated into different languages. That is my sincere request to most publishers, because I think there is an even bigger range of people, readers available, who don't get the material to read simply because they do not read English, and I think that's a travesty.
But you know, Kajol, you've hit the nail on the head. I've always believed that when you read a book, you're not actually reading. What you're doing is actually being narrated a story.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't matter what language that story comes to you in.
But it should be a language that you read.
Obviously. So, to give you an example, I think if I'm not, Gautam, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think most of my titles are in Hindi,
Yes.
Gujarati, Tamil, Malayalam, Marathi.
Hindi.
So I think the idea is to reach out to a wider universe. I think the second bit is also that increasingly we are finding that storytelling is lending itself to newer formats. So for example, you take a book and you convert it into a novella. You take a novella and you convert it into an illustrated comic book. You take a comic book and you convert it into a video game. You're telling the same story, but at the end of the day, fundamentally what people are absorbing is the crux of it. Of course, I would love that the pure form remains.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I genuinely believe that we can look at a much wider audience in case we have that many more formats available, formats and languages.
So we shall read more, yes, and keep reading and buying more books. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a man who actually is friends with Ashwin Sanghi. But they were together on a journey which has been so exciting for Westland. I present to you Gautam Padmanabhan, the CEO of Westland. Gautam.
Would you like to talk from there? Okay.
Sit, why don't you stay? Yeah, wait. Yeah, please say your words. It's okay.
Good morning. First of all, many thanks to Kajol for being here with us today, and I'm really pleased as the rest of you to have her in our midst. Being from Chennai, I still remember used to regularly visit the landmark bookstore.
Yes.
And I think the last time you came, I actually saw you with Ajay. Whenever you were on location there. And of course, while I've enjoyed all your major hits from DDLJ to Dilwale, I would like to specially thank you for your Tamil film, Minsara Kanavu.
Yes, more part to Tamils.
Thank you.
Minsara Kanavu. Yes.
We are doubly blessed to have Tanuja ji in the audience. Thank you very much for your presence here today. The story arc of Westland's publishing and Ashwin's rise to becoming one of India's top best-selling authors is inexorably linked. And along this amazing journey, he has become not only a great friend, but a philosopher who has always guided me through both the good and the bad times. Thank you, Ashwin, from the bottom of my heart, for your faith and trust in Westland. We are really looking forward to the publication of the Sialkot Saga, and hopefully the many more books to come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you so much.
I must tell you, since Gautam mentioned this, Sudha, when the entire world had already decided that I was not worth publishing, this was the man who gave me my break. So honestly, it's all very well for Gautam to say that I've been with him through thick and thin, but the fact is that he has been with me through thick and thin.
That's what wonderful relationships are all about. Thank you so much, Ashwin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the moment of the morning, I'll request Kajol, Gautam, and Ashwin Sanghi to unveil the cover of Ashwin Sanghi's latest book, The Sialkot Saga.
Shall we? No.
Yeah, just turn it that way. Okay.
Sorry, Gautam, why don't you come this side? Come here, next to me. How do we open this thing?
I think we just pull the ribbon.
Pull.
Yeah,
Okay.
pull.
Go ahead.
Yes.
And don't drop the book in the process.
The incredible cover of the Sialkot Saga, which will be with you. This is the fantastic cover. And we are so honored that Kajol has done the honors for us. That is the cover. For all the photo ops, people who want to take it, we shall keep there for a little bit.
And don't worry, we are going to turn the cover once we are done with the photos.
All right.
Right.
There we go.
Kajol, something about the cover? What do you think? Is it evocative? Does it tease you to pick up the book and read it?
I think it's awesome that in today's time and day and age that we have a cover that does not signify the disparity of color.
How
honestly.
nice is that? Wonderful.
Beautiful.
I think
Yes.
that's
Thanks,
beautiful
Kajol.
about it.
Thank you.
Lovely. Lovely.
Come.
So Ashwin, all your covers are done after you torture us, or I mean, do you take the decision? You have to tell people, because there are lots of people here,
Gautam
young
knows what
budding
a control
writers.
freak I am regarding covers, trailers, God knows what else. But I genuinely believe somewhere along the way that to a very great extent, if you're going to invest, let's say 2 years in writing a book,
Right.
then you owe it to yourself to make sure that you do everything possible that the book reaches as wide an audience as possible. And there are those who say that, don't judge a book by its cover. That's pretty wrong, actually.
Please judge this book by its cover.
Because-
Please judge this book by its cover.
Please judge it.
Please judge it by its cover.
There was a very interesting study done of book buying behavior, and they found that the average time spent on the front cover was 8 seconds in a bookstore. So it's 8 seconds within which someone has to make up their mind whether they will pick up the book or not. So the intention is basically to grab you.
You like the cover, Jaipur? Not loud enough. I mean, come on. Yes, thank you so much.
They're also not judging the book by its cover. They're planning to read the back of it, I'm sure.
And now we have a video trailer. This is about Ashwin Sanghi's passion. It's about the Sialkot Saga. It's about what makes Ashwin Sanghi tick, and so wonderfully. So can we play out the trailer, please?
Oh, on that screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
मार्गमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान्
Thank you. I saw a few hands go up there. Maybe some people missed it. If we have the time, we'll play the video again whenever you want us to play that again. Thank you so much. What would all of us be without Twitter? I mean, you want a controversy, you want praise. We all go to Twitter. We're already trending, and obviously it's because of Kajol and Ashwin Sanghi. We have some fantastic tweets, and I'm going to read a couple of them because these are our readers. These are people who matter so much to us. Thank you so much. The first is from Express Always, asking Ashwin Sanghi, Ashwin, is this thriller based on the partition?
Well, the partition is the genesis of this story because the partition affected millions and millions of people, but in different ways. While it is certainly the starting point of the story, it isn't really the story. The story is what happened after partition. But obviously there are secrets which only get revealed. You know, I've always sort of, my effort has always been, I think it was the great Lee Child who said that the way to write a thriller is to ask a question in the beginning and answer it by the end. So hopefully by the time you reach the end of this particular book, I'll have answered the question that is in your mind. And of course, the other effort has always, you know, there are those who say that, you know, oh, but how does one write a compelling story? So just for the wannabe writers here, I want to say 3 things that I look out for. One, that the first paragraph of the story should suck you in. It just must pull you into the story. The last paragraph of every chapter must force you to turn the page. And the last paragraph of the story, of the entire book, must make the reader want to look out for your next book. As simple as that. If you can do those 3 things, you've pretty much done your job. So that's what we've tried to do here. So please look out for the book after Sialkot.
There is another question, and it's a very obvious one from Captain Straw. There's been a lot of talk on intolerance in recent times. Does this book discuss this aspect in the story? Kajol, would you like to take that? Or Ashwin, anybody? Is there this aspect which you're discussing about different cultures? How do we coexist?
Well, you know, if I really go back into the history of India, we have been a fundamentally tolerant society. So, and I think we owe an applause to ourselves for being like that.
Yes,
I think I'm actually, honestly speaking, rather fed up of this entire intolerance debate, as it were. Because if you simply look at the word intolerance around the world, we've got far greater problems on our hands. And so to that extent, I genuinely feel that India, in that sense, is an example that we should be looking up to. I mean, thousands and thousands of years, thousands of invaders have come into this land, and we've had this uncanny ability to absorb and assimilate. You know, so I mean, that assimilation process has been terrific. Yes, undoubtedly, to say that that didn't happen without friction or without blood is foolish. But then which part of the world is free from that? So the Sialkot Saga does emphasize, if you see there are two hands on this cover, and one of them is wearing a moli, and one of them has Allahu Akbar as a tattoo. And so that should give you a very good sense of where the story is going.
Right. Kajol, there is another tweet, and this person says that, I've read all your books, Ashwin, but what is so special about this that I should really, really wait for it, because I always wait for your books? Kajol, considering you've read bits of it.
I have. What is so special about it? I think if he or she is a reader, I don't need to answer that question, because I think the one thing about Ashwin's writing is that, that you just pick up the book and you open it. That's all that you need to do, honestly. And your question will be answered once you do that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, all of you. And now the floor is open for a question and answer session. Are you ready to ask them questions? I shall take it. May I please request you to ask questions and not make an opinion or a statement, because that will take away time. नहीं, वक्त ज़रा कम है हम लोगों के पास. That lady right in front in glasses, yes, young lady. Go on. What's your question?
Hi Ashwin, hi Kajol. Good morning, Gautam. Absolutely thrilled to be here this morning at this literature festival, being a part of this historic moment. My question is fairly simple, Ashwin. I'm quite intrigued by the book cover. So you have these two hands, which with any person with moderate intelligence can make out it's men. So what does this signify? Is that a friendship, or is that a feud that you're depicting in the book cover?
And is it bicharna and milna like it happens in Yadav Ki Barat?
Well,
different mothers, same father.
Now, I'm worried Kajol is giving a little bit too much away. But the point is that I think everyone is going to read this story very differently. There are some people who are going to read it as a story of conflict, and there are some people who are going to read it as a story of a wonderful partnership. I don't know which one is which. But at the end of the day, the way I see it is that a story is, people ask me, do you think that you're a writer? And I've always said that, listen, I'm not a writer, I'm a storyteller. And what is storytelling? Storytelling is you have 20 people sitting in a circle, and you're telling them a story, and none of them wants to get up because the story is so interesting. I think it was the wonderful Alfred Hitchcock who told us that the length of a movie is related to the capacity of the human bladder. So imagine a situation where people are sitting in a circle and they don't want to get up, even though they need to go to the loo.
Is there a washroom close by?
So that's a great story. And that's pretty much what we've tried to do with Sialkot.
Thank you, Ashwin. Lady in the wonderful dupatta, I saw your hand go up. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Anyone else? Please put your hands. I'll come to you. Young man, I'll come to you.
Hi Ashwin. Hi Kajol.
Hello.
Ashwin, I'm a huge fan of your writing.
Thank you. I'm
And your
blessed.
books present a huge amalgamation of, as she mentioned, fiction, history, and politics. I wanted to know, how do you handle the three and balance the three? Because it's really difficult to balance all the three in one book.
For me, I don't see these as very distinctly separate subjects. Honestly speaking, individually, history and mythology don't excite me. I know it sounds very strange, but they don't excite me. What excites me is where there's a possible overlap. So where I could look at something from mythology and say, could there be a kernel of truth in this? I remember a couple of years ago, and Kajol will find this story very, very interesting. I was in Kolkata, and I had a couple of hours to kill, so I went into this little unassuming temple.
I will.
And when I went in there, there was a puja going on. A panditji was doing an arti, and I wondered as to what the deity was, and it was actually a portrait of Amitabh Bachchan. And so I...
See, I thought you'd say that it was a portrait of me.
Well, that's happening.
How would it not be?
That's under construction.
I saw one hand go up right there. Please, somebody get the mic to
But
that
it was
young
so
man.
incredible. And so, there's a pujari doing this. I walked out, Kajol, from that place, and there was a little boy. He was selling prayer books. So I picked up one. I bought it. It's very lovingly preserved in my collections. And it's called the Amitabh Chalisa. And I thought to myself,
Hey,
I
Amitabh
said,
ji, Amitabh Bachchan ki jai ho.
I thought to myself, I said, supposing I was to die today and I was to take rebirth 500 years from now, and by now the cult of Amitabh worship has really caught on, and now there isn't one temple, but there are, let's say, 1 lakh temples. And someone was to tap my shoulder and say, do you think Amitabh could have been a real man? This is precisely what we do with our mythological figures. That could that have been real? Could that have been historical? That's tantalizing. It was C.S. Lewis who said that a myth is a lie that contains a truth. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, trying to bring you that truth through the story. So I don't know whether
Thank
I've
you, Ashwin.
answered your question exactly the way you
Please
wanted
state your
it.
name. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I am Ronak. And my question to you is that every writer has some voluminous surfeiting in his life. So my question to you is that what was your struggle towards writing the books? Matlab, we all have some problems in our
Yeah.
life and we also face our dreams
Yes.
apart from those problems. I am
Yeah.
also a writer and I also have some problems.
Yeah.
So my question is that what was your path to struggle?
Well, in my case, that first book which Kajol spoke about, the Rosabal line, it didn't start as a book. It started as actually a visit to the Rosabal shrine in Kashmir, in Srinagar. And, for those who are not familiar with that shrine, there is actually a Muslim saint from the 14th century buried there. And that is an Islamic burial with the head facing towards Mecca. And on the other hand, there is a second body below that first body, which is actually an east-west burial, which indicates that it's a Jewish burial. And this story fascinated me because outside the tomb is a pair of crucified feet. And I said, my God, this is an incredible story. The possibility that Jesus Christ could have visited India or could have possibly even died in India, could have possibly studied in India. It was a wow story. And so I ended up spending the next 2 years researching it. But after I had finished researching it, I had voluminous notes, and I handed it over to my wife, who currently is not listening to me, as she usually doesn't. But
Smart woman.
smart woman. So I handed over my notes to her, and I said, why don't you read it and tell me how they sound? And the next morning, she told me, she said, congratulations. So I was about to receive some good news, and she says, you found the cure for insomnia. Because the first 2 pages, and I fell asleep. So you need to make this into a story. So I converted that research note into a story over the next 1 year.
So basically, his struggle was that his mom brought him up well, he went to a good school, all that. I mean, that was his struggle in life. And eventually, his struggle was that his wife did not think it was very interesting. But eventually, he tried to make it interesting for her.
But I must tell you, a lot of people think that struggle is simply about, like, for example, there is someone who comes from a family of limited means. And that is a struggle. Because you need to earn your bread and then you need to continue writing. The problem is sometimes you also come from a situation where, what I call the golden handcuff. So in my case, for example, I went to the right school, I went to the right college, I got an MBA at the right time, I married the right girl, I had my kids at the right time. All of that happened for me, but it was just going along with the flow, what was expected of me. And in fact, Kajol asked the question, why did you not write under your own name? I didn't write under my own name because I was really fearful about what my father would think. Because he had invested his entire life in thinking that I was going to be this great Marwadi businessman. And suddenly I say that, listen, I want to be a jholadhari and I want to become a lekhak. That was not going to go down too well. So I think everyone has their own, but I think the common factor, I have always said, bestsellers in our world are not the best writers. They are simply the most thick-skinned. They simply carry on, even when everyone says, you're lousy, you're useless. I remember one of the first critics who read my book told me, Ashwin Sanghi writes well, it's a good book, but it should have been shorter. Like, for example, it should have stopped on page 10. So,
How rude is that?
that's
There's
fine.
another hand going up. Young lady, yes. Can someone get the mic to her, please? Mic, thank you. Come up front, sweetheart. Anybody else?
my
Do I see
question
more
to
hands
you-
at the back? Yeah, yes.
Hello, Kajol. My question is to you. My name is also Kajol. I just wanted
How
to
lovely.
know. I just wanted to know the meaning of Kajol because when I born in 1997, okay, you was so famous, so famous. So my father was fond of you. So he just
I think Kajol means exactly that, eyes in Bengali. And I think Kajal जिसे कहते हैं हिंदी में.
So, yeah.
Nothing special about it.
There's one lady there. Yeah, I'll come to you, sure. I'll take 2 more questions and then we are really short of time. Yes? Preeti?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And good,
Good
morning.
morning.
Hi. Whenever you write a book, you've written quite a few books. Do you always think of a target audience when you design what you're going to write? So do you have a level of, the age group or someone or a kind of audience that you write for? Ki this book is मैं इनके लिए लिखने वाला हूँ. Or I'm going to write this book for these kind of people. Do you think of that when you start
This
off?
question was answered the most beautifully by my good friend Amish Tripathi. We were having a long discussion one day about how do we come up with our stories and what should be the process of thinking about a story. And he said, Ashwin, according to me, at the time when you're actually writing a story, don't think about marketing, don't think about segments, don't think about how you're going to actually make that story work for your audience. Because the moment you do that, you're going to end up eventually impinging on the creative capabilities that you have as a writer. But he said, my second part of my suggestion to you is that once you have finished writing the story, take off your writer's cap and put on your marketing cap. And at that point of time, then
Decide
forget.
what your
and then
audience should
decide
be,
as to how you want to market it. At that point of time, your only objective should be marketing. Not at all. I mean, I must tell you, in so many years, when I've written a story, and there have been many times when Gautam and I, he's probably one of the only people who actually ends up reading a manuscript while I'm writing. There are times when I ask for feedback. I'll ask for feedback not in terms of, is the story nice? No, that's not what I want. What I want to know is, did you turn the page or did the page turn itself? Period. If you can answer that question for me, then I know I'm on the right track. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. I've always believed that in a good book, there are the so-called 3 E's. You start off with entertainment, which is what Kajol talked about, which is, can the story compel you to read? The second part of it is maybe along the way, you pick up something that you hadn't thought of or read of before. That's the education bit. And the third is that when you put down the book, you say, I hadn't thought of this in this way. That's the moment of aha, enlightenment. So entertainment, education, enlightenment, but in that order.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a young lady here, Gaurangi, who's from Jaipur. She wants to meet with Kajol and give us some flowers. I think it's a beautiful moment. Go ahead, sweetheart. Do it.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
One more question if somebody, thank you Gaurangi, God bless.
What a beautiful
Whose hand? Yeah, please come forward if you can, because I don't think I can get the mic to you. Young lady, there, you.
Turn around, darling.
To Kajol? To Kajol? Yeah, go ahead, please. And after this last question, and then we are done.
Hello, Kajol, ma'am. Hello,
Hello.
Ashwin, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is to you, Kajol. What is your one of the favorite books you have read till now?
I can't make up my mind on that. I have my entire library. Currently, I'm rereading my entire library because I just like rereading my entire library. I have I think, nearly like 600, 700 books in them. So when I read a book which I haven't read for the last 5, 6 years again, I'm like, oh, I'm meeting such nice people again. And oh, I'm back to this again. So yeah, I love rereading my library. And of course, I'm just currently reading Sialkot Saga. So I've just started it up.
The first reader, by the way, after Gautam Padmanabh.
One more question. Where to you? Yeah, please, can we get the mic to that young lady there, standing up, yeah.
हाँ जी बोलिए.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
We can't hear you.
Good
Is your mic
morning, good
turned on?
morning, good
Yeah.
morning, good
Okay.
morning.
My name is Shivangi, and my question is for Kajol ma'am. There is a rapid fire round for you. Shah Rukh Khan,
I'm
Amir
really
Khan,
bad at rapid fire.
But you
I'm
have to answer.
seriously bad at it.
But you have to answer.
Okay. With help.
No. You have to question. You have to answer Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, or Salman Khan.
इसको यार reporter बना दो.
You know, honestly speaking, I must tell you, Kajol is right there at the top of that list. She doesn't need any of them, yeah. Seriously.
Oh, I like that answer.
She doesn't need any of them.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank, that's it. We have no time left. Even as I request the members of the press, my friends, to proceed to the terrace for a Q&A session and one-on-ones, the author and Kajol would be available for the next 30 minutes. I would like to thank the JLF team and all of you wonderful people for being here this morning. Namita Gokhale, Sanjay Roy, Teamwork.
Thank you so much, Jaipur. Thank you so much
And
for
we have
having
a
us
request
here.
to play the video once more. Let's play the video. Even as Kajol and the author are proceeding to the press terrace. Thank you so much.